First contact deception. The Kilari Collective had conquered 17 star systems in just under 2 centuries. Their biomechanical vessels, elegant and lethal, had established dominion over every civilization they encountered. Some species had been assimilated, their genetic material and technology harvested to enhance the collective. Others, those who resisted, had been systematically eradicated, their planets stripped of resources, and left as barren warnings to those who might consider defiance. Supreme Overseer Jovic stood on the command platform of the Eternal Dawn, flagship of the 7th Conquest Fleet. His scaled skin reflected the ambient light in shimmering patterns as he studied the holographic representation of the Sol system. The Intelligence Division had classified humans as a Level 2 species, capable of limited interplanetary travel, but lacking faster-than-light capabilities, a primitive people still burning fossil fuels on their homeworld, while maintaining rudimentary colonies on their moon and neighboring planet. The conquest will proceed according to standard protocols, Jovic announced to his command staff. We will destroy their orbital defense platforms as a demonstration, then demand unconditional surrender. Those who submit will be processed for assimilation. Those who resist will be harvested for biomass. First Tactician Merrill bowed her elongated head. Supreme Overseer, preliminary scans indicate the humans possess nuclear weapons. Shall we implement radiation containment measures? Jovic's inner eyelids flickered in amusement. Their primitive atomics pose no threat to our shields. They will discover this moments before their surrender. All vessels report ready for translation, announced the communications officer. The fleet awaits your command. Jovic raised a 6-fingered hand. Execute transition sequence. Target: Sol system. Outer orbit of their 4th planet. We will allow them to witness our arrival before we move on their homeworld. Deep within the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Commander Maya Reeves floated in the null-gravity command sphere of the ESS Phantom. Unlike traditional military vessels with their rigid command structures and formal environments, the experimental stealth ship operated with a more intimate arrangement. 6 crew members, each among the best Earth had to offer, worked in synchronized silence around her. Kilari Fleet incoming, announced Lieutenant Commander Takashi Watanabe, his fingers dancing across the neural interface. Transition signatures detected near Mars orbit. Initial count shows 117 vessels. Maya's dark eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. The aliens had arrived precisely where Earth's strategic command had predicted. Status of the network. Quantum entanglement communication remains stable, replied communications specialist Elena Sokolov. The Sol Defense Fleet is maintaining position behind Jupiter. All colonies have initiated blackout protocols. For 3 decades, humanity had prepared for this moment. Since the first Kilari scout vessel had been detected at the edge of the solar system 28 years ago, Earth had implemented the Shadow Protocol, a comprehensive strategy of technological misdirection. While openly displaying relatively primitive space technology, humanity had secretly developed capabilities far beyond what the aliens would expect. Initiate primary countermeasures, Maya ordered. Let's see if our friends take the bait. Aboard the Eternal Dawn, Jovic observed with satisfaction as the fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. The primitive human detection systems would surely be overwhelmed by the sudden appearance of so many advanced vessels. Multiple objects approaching from the direction of the human homeworld, reported the sensor officer. Simple chemical propulsion, minimal armor, rudimentary weapons systems. As expected, Jovic said, mandibles clicking in anticipation. They send their defenders to be sacrificed. Honorable, but futile. The tactical display showed 30 human vessels moving to intercept the Kilari fleet. Their design was crude, bulky cylinders with obvious thrusters and primitive projectile weapons, exactly what intelligence had predicted from a Level 2 civilization. They broadcast a message. Supreme Overseer, said the communications officer. Audio only. No visual component. Let us hear the words of the soon-to-be-conquered, Jovic commanded. settling into his command throne. A human voice, translated through the ship's systems, filled the command deck. "Attention, unknown vessels. This is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered restricted space. Power down your systems and identify yourselves immediately." Laughter rippled across the command deck. The human's tone carried authority, but lacked the understanding of who they faced. "Respond with standard pre-conquest message," Zhovk ordered. "Inform them of their impending subjugation and the futility of resistance." The message was transmitted, explaining in clear terms that the Kilari Collective had claimed their system, that resistance would result in eradication, and that cooperation would lead to the privilege of serving the Collective. The human fleet continued its approach, showing no signs of retreat. "They are either brave or foolish," First Tactician Merrill observed. "Shall we provide the demonstration?" Supreme Overseer Zhovik gestured affirmatively. "Target their lead vessels. Destroy half their fleet. Let them witness our power before they kneel." The Kilari weapons officers prepared to fire when the sensor officer suddenly called out. "Anomaly detected. Spatial distortion forming within our formation." Before Zhovik could respond, alarms blared across the command deck. Where empty space had existed moments before, a single human vessel materialized, directly alongside the Eternal Dawn. "Impossible," Zhovik hissed. "They have no displacement technology." The vessel was unlike anything in the Kilari database, sleek and angular. Its hull was a deep matte black that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No visible propulsion systems, weapons ports, or external sensors could be detected. Most disturbing was its size, barely 1/8 the length of the Kilari flagship, yet it had appeared with precision that suggested technological sophistication far beyond Level 2. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced, confusion evident in their voice. "Visual and audio." The main display activated, revealing a human female. Her uniform was unlike those worn by the crews of the approaching Earth vessels, simple, functional, and bearing minimal insignia. It suggested a different branch of their military altogether. "Kilari vessels," she said calmly, her voice translated seamlessly. "I am Commander Maya Reeves of the Earth Strategic Service. You have been missiled." Zhovik rose from his command throne, towering to his full height. "Explain your meaning, human, before you are destroyed for your insolence." The human's expression didn't change. "Your intelligence on Earth is outdated and deliberately manipulated. What you see approaching is not our defense fleet, it's bait." At that moment, the sensor officer called out again. "Supreme Overseer, the approaching human vessels, they're not manned. They're drones." Before Zhovik could process this information, Commander Reeves continued. "For nearly 3 decades, we've studied your collective. We've analyzed your communication protocols, your weapons systems, your biomechanical interfaces. We've prepared accordingly." The human vessel, the Phantom, according to the identifier now broadcasting, suddenly emitted a complex signal across all frequencies. Throughout the Kilari fleet, ship systems began to fluctuate as the signal interfered with the delicate balance between mechanical components and biological interfaces that gave Kilari technology its adaptive advantage. "What is happening?" Zhovik demanded as the Eternal Dawn's lights flickered. "The signal is disrupting our bioneural pathways," the systems officer reported frantically. It's like a virus designed specifically for our technology." On the display, Commander Reeves remained composed. "While we displayed primitive technology in plain sight, we developed in secret. We observed 17 of your conquests, Overseer. We collected biological samples, studied your signals, identified your weaknesses. Across the fleet, ships were losing power as the signal corrupted their systems. The mighty Kilari conquest fleet, undefeated for generations, was being systematically neutralized by a single human vessel and an elegantly designed signal. You should know," Reeves continued, "that we could destroy your entire fleet right now. The drone vessels approaching your position carry quantum destabilization warheads capable of tearing apart your molecular structure. But unnecessary destruction isn't our way. As the Eternal Dawn's systems continued failing around him, Jovic finally understood the magnitude of their miscalculation. The Kilari had categorized humans based on visible technology, not recognizing the strategic minds that wielded it. They had evaluated hardware, not ingenuity. You've made a powerful enemy today, Jovic managed as emergency systems engaged. Commander Reeves shook her head slightly. No, Overseer. Today we prevented a war. The demonstration is complete. Your systems will restore in approximately 1 hour, enough time for you to consider your options. The Sol system is off-limits to the Kilari Collective. Spread the word. The transmission ended, and the human vessel, this phantom that had appeared from nowhere, shimmered briefly before vanishing as suddenly as it had arrived, leaving behind a disabled but salvageable Kilari fleet. As Jovic initiated emergency protocols, a new understanding began to form in his mind. The collective had encountered something unprecedented, a species that had anticipated their coming and prepared not just to survive, but to dominate the encounter. For the first time in his long life, Supreme Overseer Jovic felt something unfamiliar stirring within him, an emotion that the Kilari had engineered out of their species generations ago. Fear, the cosmic chess game. In the hour that followed, the Kilari fleet hung suspended in space, their vessels powered down to essential life support systems only. The primitive human drones maintained position at a calculated distance, close enough to strike, far enough to suggest confidence rather than aggression. Aboard the Eternal Dawn, technicians worked frantically to restore systems while Supreme Overseer Jovic convened an emergency council with his senior commanders. How is this possible? Demanded Second Overseer Kelax, his chromatic scales flashing in agitation. Our intelligence network has monitored this system for decades. There were no indications of advanced technology. Because they wanted it that way, Jovic replied, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. They detected our early scouts and constructed an elaborate deception. Everything we observed was deliberately shown to us. First Tactician Merrill manipulated the holographic display, reviewing what little data they had captured about the human vessel, the Phantom, before their systems had been compromised. The hull composition is unlike anything in our database, she reported. It appears to absorb scanning waves rather than reflect them, and the displacement technology they use to appear within our formation. Our analysts previously believed such precision was theoretically impossible. Jovic's inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of intense concentration. The question is not how they did this, but what they intend now. They could have destroyed us, yet they chose demonstration over annihilation. As if in answer to his question, the communication system suddenly reactivated. Incoming transmission from the human vessel, announced the communications officer. They have returned. On screen, Jovic ordered. Commander Maya Reeves appeared once more. Behind her, the command sphere of the Phantom was now visible, a revolutionary design that bore little resemblance to the crude cockpits of the decoy vessels the Kilari had initially observed. Supreme Overseer, she greeted him. Your systems should be partially restored by now, enough to maintain life support and limited communications, at least. Jovic straightened to his full height. You have made your point, human. Your species has hidden capabilities we did not anticipate. Now state your terms. Open your database viewer, Reeves instructed. We're transmitting a comprehensive file. The tactical display shifted as new information flooded in. Detailed scans of Kilari colony worlds, schematics of their vessels, even genetic profiles of various Kilari subspecies specialized for different functions within the collective. How did you obtain this? Jovic demanded, mandibles clicking in alarm. For 28 years, we've operated observer vessels throughout Kilari space, Reeves explained. Vessels similar to the Phantom, equipped with technology specifically designed to evade your detection methods. We've studied every aspect of the collective, your social structure, your technology, your conquest patterns. The implications were staggering. While the Kilari had been observing humans from a distance, categorizing them as primitive based on their visible technology, humans had been conducting deep reconnaissance within Kilari territory, gathering intelligence that would have required vessels to travel undetected through multiple secured systems. What you're suggesting is impossible, Second Overseer Kallax insisted. No species could develop such technology in isolation, much less deploy it undetected within our space. Commander Reeves' expression remained neutral. 30 years ago, we detected an anomaly at the edge of our solar system, your first scout ship. Instead of announcing ourselves, we chose observation. We've had 3 decades to prepare for this moment. Overseer Jovk. The display shifted again, showing a map of human territory. What had appeared to be primitive outposts on Mars and the Moon were revealed to be elaborate facades, concealing vast underground complexes. Jupiter's moons, previously thought uninhabited, now displayed evidence of significant human presence. Asteroid bases, hidden shipyards, quantum communication relays, an entire infrastructure of advanced civilization had existed beneath the primitive exterior the Kilari had observed. Your species has mastered deception, Jovik acknowledged, a hint of reluctant respect in his voice. We've mastered survival, Reeves corrected. Earth's history is filled with examples of technologically superior forces overwhelming less advanced cultures. We learned from our past. When we realized we weren't alone in the galaxy and that the first visitors might not come in peace, we implemented the Shadow Protocol. The tactical display updated once more, showing something that sent ripples of alarm through the Kilari command staff. A massive human fleet emerging from behind Jupiter, vastly more numerous than the decoy force that had first approached. These vessels bore the same stealth design as the Phantom, though larger and clearly armed with weapons systems of unknown capability. This is the actual Earth Defense Fleet, Reeves explained. 276 vessels, each capable of the same displacement technology demonstrated by the Phantom. They could surround your fleet in seconds. For a species that had known only victory for generations, the revelation was profoundly disturbing. The Kilari Collective had based its strategy on technological superiority and overwhelming force. Now they faced a species that had anticipated their tactics and developed specific countermeasures before first contact had even occurred. What do you want, Commander Reeves? Jovik asked finally. If destruction was your goal, you would have achieved it already. A revaluation of our status in your records would be a start, Reeves replied. We are not a level 2 civilization to be conquered. We are your technological equals, at minimum, and in some areas your superiors. Jovik's scales shifted color slightly, a biological tell that his neural processes were calculating rapidly. The collective does not form alliances. We conquer or we withdraw. Then withdraw, Reeves said simply. The Sol system and its surrounding 12 light years are sovereign human territory. Cross that boundary again, and our response won't be a demonstration. Before Jovik could respond, the sensor officer called out. New displacement signatures detected. Multiple vessels appearing throughout the formation. Within moments, 30 additional Phantom-class vessels materialized around the Kilari fleet, each taking position near a key command ship. The message was unmistakable. The humans could strike at the collective's leadership simultaneously if they chose. A final point for your consideration, Supreme Overseer, Commander Reeves continued. The signal that disabled your fleet was tailored specifically to Kilari biomechanical systems. We've developed similar countermeasures for every species in your collective. We know the Terekti in your engineering division are vulnerable to certain resonance frequencies. We know the Volmeri who maintain your life support systems cannot function in the presence of specific electromagnetic patterns. For the first time, the implications extended beyond this single encounter. If humans had indeed studied the collective so thoroughly, they represented a threat unlike any the Kilari had faced, a species that had developed targeted weaknesses against not just Kilari technology, but against every assimilated species within the collective. How should I interpret this information, Commander? Javik asked carefully. As a threat of annihilation, should we not comply? Reeves shook her head. Not annihilation. Coexistence. The galaxy is vast enough for both our civilizations, Overseer. We have no interest in conquest. But we will not be conquered. The command deck fell silent as Javik considered his options. The collective protocol for encountering superior force was clear: strategic withdrawal and reassessment. Yet no Supreme Overseer had ever had to implement this protocol. The humiliation would be significant. And if we agree to recognize your territorial claim, he asked finally, what then? Then we establish communication protocols, perhaps even limited trade, eventually. There are threats in this galaxy that concern us both. This was unprecedented, a species offering diplomacy from a position of superior tactical advantage, yet not pressing that advantage to demand subjugation or resource tributes. You've studied us extensively, Commander, Javik noted. You know the collective does not have diplomatic infrastructure. We have conquest protocols and assimilation protocols. Nothing more. Then perhaps it's time to develop new protocols, Reeves suggested. Evolution through adaptation is the foundation of your own biological philosophy, is it not? Apply it to your societal structure. Before Javik could respond, First Tactician Merrill spoke up. Supreme Overseer, I've completed analysis of their fleet positioning. They've created a perfect defensive grid. If we attempt to activate weapons or engines, they can target specific systems before we complete power-up sequences. Javik turned back to the human commander. You've left us little choice but to accept your terms. We've left you the most important choice, Reeves corrected. The choice between continued conflict and potential cooperation, between stagnation and growth. With a gesture that carried the weight of centuries of Kalari tradition, Javik signaled his acceptance. The collective will withdraw from human space and record your species as unsuitable for conquest. Record us as you wish in your internal documents, Reeves replied. But understand the reality. We are not unsuitable for conquest. We are unconquerable. As if to emphasize this point, one of the human vessels near the Eternal Dawn activated some form of propulsion system that defied Kalari understanding. No visible exhaust, no detectable energy signature, yet the ship moved with impossible precision. Your systems will be fully restored within another 30 minutes, Commander Reeves informed them. We'll maintain position until you're ready to depart. A data packet with communication protocols is being transmitted to your secondary systems. Should the collective wish to establish non-hostile contact in the future, those channels will be open. The transmission ended, and the command deck of the Eternal Dawn fell into contemplative silence. For the first time in living memory, a Kalari fleet would return from an encounter not with new subjects or resources, but with a fundamental challenge to their understanding of their place in the galaxy. Aboard the Phantom, Commander Maya Reeves exhaled slowly as the transmission ended. The tension that had been building for decades, since the first detection of alien presence in the solar system, had finally reached its climax and resolution. Status of the Kalari fleet, she asked. All vessels remain powered down, reported Lieutenant Commander Watanabe. Their emergency systems are functioning as predicted. No signs of weapon activation attempts. Elena Sokolov looked up from her communication station. Quantum relay from Strategic Command, Commander. Admiral Harrison sends his congratulations. The Jupiter fleet is standing by for your signal. Maya nodded. The gamble had paid off. Earth's long strategy of technological misdirection, developing advanced capabilities in secret while displaying only primitive technology publicly, had allowed humanity to prepare for this moment. Rather than encountering a helpless Level 2 civilization, the Kalari had found themselves outmaneuvered by a species that had studied them for decades and developed specific countermeasures. Maintain position, she ordered, and transmit my compliments to the fleet. Shadow Protocol has been successfully executed. As the Phantom held its position alongside the massive Kilari flagship, Maya considered the implications of their encounter. The Kilari would report back to their collective that humans were not suitable conquest targets, but they would also report that humans possessed technology that challenged Kilari supremacy. Displacement systems more advanced than their own, stealth technology that had allowed human vessels to operate undetected in Kilari space, and countermeasures specifically designed to target Kilari weaknesses. The strategic calculation throughout the galaxy would shift. Other species would learn that the mighty Kilari had been forced to withdraw. New possibilities for alliance and cooperation might emerge from species previously terrorized by the collective. "Do you think they'll honor the agreement?" asked Watanabe quietly. Maya studied the alien flagship through the viewscreen. "They're calculating entities. The risk-reward analysis doesn't favor renewed aggression, but we'll maintain our vigilance." The Silent Vanguard, humanity's secret fleet of advanced vessels, would continue its observation mission, ensuring that the Kilari and any other potential threats remained aware that Earth was not the primitive world it had appeared to be. The deception was over, but the watchfulness would continue. In the vastness of space, the confrontation between human ingenuity and Kilari might have established a new equation. Not conquest, not subjugation, but mutual recognition. It was an unprecedented outcome in Kilari history, and perhaps the beginning of a new chapter in human history as well.